Welcome to BookBuzz Reviews and Summaries. What if everything you've been searching for, peace, clarity, purpose, was already within you, quietly waiting for the right questions to awaken it, in a world overwhelmed by noise, by the constant pull of opinions, distractions, and obligations? We often forget to ask the most important questions of all. We chase success, approval, and security as if they're scattered across some distant horizon, never realizing that the map to everything we truly need has been imprinted in our own heart since the beginning. This book is not just another self-help guide. It is an invitation to a profound journey, a return to the self, where three deceptively simple questions hold the power to transform your life. Who am I? What is real? What is love? These are not riddles for the intellect to solve, but doorways through which the soul remembers its truth. Don Miguel Ruiz, the celebrated author of The Four Agreements, now takes us even deeper, beyond the masks we wear and the roles we play, with the clarity of ancient Toltec wisdom and the warmth of timeless spiritual insight. He challenges you to strip away the illusions, to look yourself in the eye, and to discover a truth so powerful it can reshape the course of your destiny. You are not born to live in fear or confusion. You are born to live in harmony, with yourself, with others, and with the universe. But to find that harmony, you must stop running from yourself and start listening deeply, listening honestly. This book is your mirror. It will reflect back not only your pain and your patterns, but your untapped brilliance, your infinite capacity to love, and the quiet, steady voice of wisdom that has always been guiding you. If you are ready, truly ready, to reclaim your life, then open these pages with courage, because the questions you ask will determine the life you live, and the time to ask them is now. Book The Three Questions, Part 1. Awakening to the Questions. Chapter 1. The Path of the Warrior begins. The journey begins with a timeless and powerful idea. Each of us is a warrior, not in the physical, combative sense, but as a spiritual seeker navigating a world of illusion. Don Miguel Ruiz opens with a profound realization. We are all born into a society that teaches us to live by fear, judgment, and domestication. From childhood, we're conditioned to conform, to earn love, to please others, to avoid punishment. But the truth is, we were born free. Our essence is unconditional love and power. The first steps toward reclaiming that power are through self-inquiry, and the tool Ruiz gives us is deceptively simple yet transformative. Three questions: who am I? What is real? What is love? He doesn't answer them right away. Instead, he challenges us to live with these questions, because only by asking again and again can we begin to awaken the answers within ourselves. Ruiz invites the reader to let go of pretense and open the heart. The goal isn't to find answers out there, but to strip away the lies we've been told about ourselves. The warrior seeks truth, not approval. This chapter sets the stage for a personal revolution. Are you ready to stop living on autopilot and start waking up? Chapter 2. The first question: who am I? The first question, who am I, seems basic, even obvious, but as Ruiz reveals, it's the key to unlocking our inner prison. We spend our lives chasing labels. I'm a teacher, a parent, a success, a failure, but those are masks, not our essence. Ruiz calls this illusion the story, a fiction we tell ourselves about who we are. Most of us live our entire lives trapped in this narrative, confusing our roles with our being. Worse, we internalize others' judgments and start to identify with our wounds. I'm not enough. I'm broken. I'm not lovable. The warrior, however, begins to observe the voice in the mind. Ruiz teaches us that we are not the voice. We are the one who listens. That is the beginning of true awareness. You are not the voice of your mind. You are the force that listens to the voice. In this chapter, Ruiz invites us to see ourselves as pure consciousness, as energy, unchanging, eternal, beyond form. That realization, even if glimpsed for a moment, breaks the illusion of identity. Who you are is not what you've done, what others say, or what your mind insists. You are life itself, experiencing this reality. Chapter 3. The second question: what is real? Having shaken the foundations of identity, Ruiz turns to the next big mystery. What is real? This is where the warrior starts to understand the concept of dreams. Not the kind we have at night, but the collective dream we all participate in while awake. Ruiz, borrowing from Toltec wisdom, explains that what we perceive as reality is often just a shared dream shaped by fear, belief systems, and agreement. Society, religion, culture, family all contribute to this dream. It feels real because everyone agrees on it, but agreement doesn't equal truth. Reality, Ruiz says, exists only in the present moment. Everything else, memories, regrets, fantasies, expectations, is mental projection. True reality is found when you become fully present, without interpretation, judgment, or resistance. The only truth is the present moment. Everything else is a story. This chapter is a wake-up call to mindfulness. It challenges listeners to stop living in the past or future and return to what is. Reality, like love and truth, doesn't live in the mind. It lives in experience, and experience happens now. Chapter 4. The Illusion of Fear and Control. Before we can fully embrace love, the third and most powerful question, we must confront the barriers to it, chief among them, fear. In this chapter, Ruiz dives deep into how fear creates illusion and control. Fear is the tool of the parasite, a Toltec term for the inner judge and victim that live inside us. These internal voices keep us trapped in guilt, shame, comparison, and self-doubt. We become addicted to suffering because it gives us a false sense of identity and control, so we control others, control ourselves, cling to routines, and try to manage outcomes. But this grasping only creates more pain. The warrior learns to surrender control, not in weakness, but in strength. By letting go of control, we become free from fear. Ruiz emphasizes that the path to truth is not about gaining more, but unlearning, unbecoming, and releasing. He compares it to cleaning a dirty mirror. Only when you wipe away the grime can you see your reflection clearly. Fear is not real. It is a belief. And all beliefs can be changed. Part 2. Reclaiming the Power of Love. Chapter 5. The third question. What is love? We now arrive at the third and most transformative question. What is love? To most of us, love feels like a mystery, sometimes beautiful, sometimes painful. But Ruiz reveals that what we often call love is not love at all. It's attachment, possession, expectation, or fear of loss. Real love, he says, is not something we give or receive. It is what we are. Love is the force that creates everything. Love is life. When we believe we are lacking love, it's only because we've forgotten our own essence. Ruiz makes a radical claim. Love has no conditions. It asks for nothing. It needs no justification. When you are in alignment with love, you stop needing people to behave a certain way. You let them be free, because you are free. This chapter invites listeners to question their personal definitions of love. Do you use love to control others? Do you measure your worth by how others treat you? If so, you are living in the dream of fear. Real love never says, "I'll love you if," it only says, "I love." And once we align with that truth, everything begins to change. Chapter 6. The Mirror of Relationships. Love does not exist in isolation. This chapter explores how our relationships act as mirrors, reflecting the parts of ourselves we have not yet accepted, forgiven, or healed. Ruiz says that the people who trigger us the most often hold the greatest lessons because they shine a light on where we are still stuck in fear, judgment, or expectation. The warrior learns to stop blaming others for their emotions and instead asks, what part of me is still living in illusion? Every person you meet is a messenger. Every relationship is an invitation to return to love. Ruiz teaches that forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about setting yourself free. When you cling to resentment, you chain yourself to the past. When you forgive, you release yourself from the prison of suffering. In relationships, the goal is not to be right, but to be free. And freedom comes when you realize that the only thing you can ever control is how you choose to respond. Chapter 7. The Warrior's Integrity. This chapter marks a turning point. Ruiz shifts the focus from awareness to action. He introduces the idea of the spiritual warrior, one who lives with integrity, not just in words, but in energy and intent. Integrity, he explains, is not about being perfect or moralistic, it's about being aligned. Do your thoughts, words, and actions match? Are you living according to your own truth or someone else's? Most people betray themselves daily. They say yes when they mean no. They hide parts of themselves to be accepted. They pretend, but the warrior cannot pretend. The warrior must be whole, or else the internal conflict will drain their power. Every time you lie to yourself, you cut off a piece of your own power. This chapter is a call to reclaim our personal power by telling the truth, not just to others, but most importantly, to ourselves. Real integrity means living from love, not fear. It means being honest even when it's uncomfortable. It means taking full responsibility for your choices. Chapter 8. Living as the Answer. Having explored the 3 questions deeply, Ruiz now challenges us to go one step further. Don't just ask the questions, become the answer. If you know your life, then live like it. If you know the present is reality, then show up for it. If you know you are love, then stop withholding it. This chapter is about embodiment. It's easy to have spiritual insights. It's harder to live them in traffic, at work, or when a loved one disappoints us. But that's the real test and the real opportunity. Ruiz emphasizes that spiritual mastery is not about escaping life. It's about engaging with life fully, but from a place of inner freedom. The warrior doesn't seek perfection. They seek alignment, and that alignment turns every moment into an act of love. The highest expression of love is to live without fear. This is not a poetic idea, it's a practice, and it begins with choosing, moment by moment, to return to the truth of who you are. Part 3. The Inner War and the Path to Peace. Chapter 9. The Voice of the Judge. At this point in the journey, Ruiz introduces us to one of the fiercest inner enemies we must confront: the judge. The judge is that internal voice that tells you, you're not good enough, you always mess things up, or you don't deserve happiness. It's not just a critical thought, it's a deeply rooted belief system, installed from childhood, reinforced by society, and fed by fear. The judge punishes you again and again for the same mistakes, and worse, it makes you believe you deserve it. This chapter reveals that most of our suffering doesn't come from the world. It comes from our own judgment. Even when we've survived the pain of the past, the judge keeps it alive through guilt, shame, and regret, but there is a path out. Awareness. When you recognize that the voice of the judge is not the voice of truth, you create space for something new. You begin to question the thoughts that cause your pain, and that is the beginning of freedom. Chapter 10. The Victim Within. If the judge is the tyrant, then the victim is the prisoner who has accepted the sentence. The victim lives in helplessness. It says, I can't. It's too late. Or that's just how I am. Ruiz exposes how the victim identity traps us in cycles of suffering and blame. It convinces us that the world is doing something to us, rather than recognizing our power to respond. The victim thrives on pity, control through weakness, and self-abandonment, but the warrior cannot live as a victim. The warrior recognizes that while you cannot control everything that happens, you can always choose your attitude, your words, your actions, and those choices are your power. You were not born to suffer. You were born to create. This chapter is a wake-up call. Every time we tell ourselves a story that we are powerless, we give our energy away, but every time we say, I choose, we reclaim it. Chapter 11. The Path of the Warrior. Ruiz now offers the clearest vision yet of what it means to be a spiritual warrior, not a fighter of others, but a master of the self. The warrior doesn't deny their emotions. They face them with honesty. They feel fear and walk forward anyway. They hear the judge and choose not to obey. They see the victim and offer compassion, not identity. The warrior uses awareness as their weapon. They do not fight with anger. They fight with clarity. This chapter introduces 4 powerful tools the warrior uses to stay grounded. 1. Awareness. Knowing the truth of who you are. 2. Love. Choosing love over fear. Again and again. 3. Forgiveness. Releasing yourself and others from the past. 4. Discipline. Practicing these tools daily, no matter what arises, the warrior understands that mastery is not a destination. It is a practice, a way of showing up, a way of living. Chapter 12. Choosing Peace. This chapter brings us to one of the most radical teachings in the book. Peace is a choice. It's not something that happens when your life is perfect, your to-do list is done, or people treat you well. It is something you can choose right now, no matter what is happening. Ruiz challenges the idea that peace must be earned or achieved. He says it's already within you. But to access it, you must be willing to let go of the drama, the identity, the pain. You must be willing to stop being right and, instead, choose to be free. Peace is not the absence of conflict, it is the absence of resistance. This doesn't mean being passive, it means being centered. Imagine being in the middle of a storm and yet calm at the core. That's the kind of peace the warrior chooses. One that doesn't depend on the external because it is rooted in something eternal. Part 4. The Return to Truth and Love. Chapter 13. The Power of Truth. This chapter brings the spiritual warrior to their final battle, the battle against illusion. Don Miguel Ruiz writes that the ultimate weapon in the warrior's hand is truth. Not just factual truth, but universal truth, the kind that cuts through the lies we've believed about ourselves, others, and the world. The truth doesn't hurt. What hurts is the resistance to the truth. We suffer not because of reality, but because of the stories we've been telling ourselves. I'm not enough. They don't love me. I'll never change. These are not truths. They are mental prisons. The key is awareness, and the keyhole is willingness. When we strip away the lies, what's left is not emptiness, it's freedom. It's your natural self, quiet, strong, joyful, unburdened. This chapter teaches that truth is not something you must search for. It is always present. The work is simply to stop believing the lies. Chapter 14. Living Love. Truth leads to the second great power, love, but not the kind of love we're used to, the kind that's conditional, that comes with strings and expectations. Ruiz speaks of unconditional love, a love that simply is, a love that doesn't need a reason. To love unconditionally means to love without fear, without control, without needing something in return. In this chapter, Ruiz reminds us, you are made of love, it's your essence. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, love flows. Naturally, the spiritual warrior no longer needs to control people, fix people, or be loved by them to feel whole. They become the source. They love because it's who they are. This is one of the most powerful awakenings in the book. That true love is not a relationship between two people. It's a relationship between you and life. Chapter 15. Becoming the Mirror. When you've discovered truth and remembered love, you become something more than a seeker. You become a mirror. This doesn't mean you go around giving advice or trying to change people. In fact, the opposite. By being fully present, fully yourself, you reflect the truth back to others without saying a word. A master is not someone who controls others. A master is someone who no longer needs to control themselves. The warrior now becomes a teacher, not through instruction, but through embodiment. People feel your peace. They feel your love. They feel your clarity, and it invites them to rise into their own. This chapter is a gentle call to leadership, not through ego, but through authenticity. You change the world by being a living example of what is possible. Chapter 16. The New Dream. As the book closes, Ruiz offers a powerful vision. The new dream. Most of us have been living inside a dream, a collective illusion built on fear, judgment, scarcity, and division. But once we wake up, we can dream a new dream, one based on truth, love, and freedom. This isn't just personal healing, it's revolutionary. Imagine a world where children are not taught to judge themselves, but to accept themselves, where relationships are not games of control, but gardens of trust, where leaders are not tyrants, but examples of compassion. Ruiz reminds us, you are the dreamer. You are the artist. You don't have to keep living someone else's story. The moment you say yes to life, life says yes to you. This final chapter is not an ending, it's an invitation to stop surviving and start creating, to live every day as a sacred act, to answer the three questions not just once, but again and again as you evolve. Final reflection. Answering the three questions. Let's return one last time to the three guiding questions of the book. 1. Who Ami? You are not your name, your past, your fears, or your successes. You are consciousness itself, limitless, aware, and whole. 2. What is real? Not the stories, not the thoughts, not the fear. What is real is this moment, truth, and the love you feel when you drop your defenses. 3. What is love? Not a transaction, not possession. Love is the presence that arises when you stop pretending. Read the book to learn more. Thanks for listening to Book Buzz reviews and summaries.